I hear Corona is ravaging the country like crazy. How are you guys holding up?
Charlie, in New York, yeah, it's bad. Yesterday we hit, I think, 50,000.
Wow.
We hit 50,000 yesterday, and today we've reached 52,000.
Hey.
So we keep, the death toll keeps going up, and hitting 50,000 there, Charlie. It's not fun.
Charlie.
In New York, too, the hospitalization rates are coming down, the deaths are coming down, but the daily number of people who are getting infected is still in the thousands.
Yeah.
So you have a lot of progress that's being made, on one side, but then on the other, you still have a whole host of these cases. So for us, we've been on lockdown, I think, since March 16th,
Okay.
I would say. Since March 16th, New York City has been on lockdown. The week before, some people had started getting, notices and things that, they shouldn't report to work, they should work from home and whatnot. But
for a city
16th was the day that everybody stayed home in New York State. So it's going to be extended until May 15th, and then from there they're going to look, and see whether it's better or what they can do. But I'm sure, as you heard, some states are easing restrictions. I think every state and what they're doing is, different. It's not like Ghana where you have a situation where, everybody might do everything uniform in terms of our system. Here, the way it is, every state's their own rules, so it complicates things when you're trying to do things on a federal level, I guess.
For a state
the states are trying their best they can to try and fix this. But Charlie, it'll be easy.
For a state
it's affecting a lot of people.
Do you hear me?
What'd you say?
I'm saying for a state that barely sleeps, for a state that's always booming with activity, how has the cultural shift? How have people been able to accept the different dynamic that they're experiencing now?
Well, when it came out, a lot of people thought nobody really took it seriously, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody really took it seriously.
Yeah.
The whole world around, nobody really took this seriously until really March. Especially the first week in March where people were beginning to say, hey, Charlie, this thing is getting serious. This thing is getting serious.
Yeah.
For us, especially people who live in New York City, that the hardship we see, a lot of people who live in New York, New Yorkers, they live in apartments.
Okay.
So whereas you in Ghana, you have the luxury of having a compound, right?
Yes.
You have a luxury of having a veranda.
So you can isolate or insulate yourself from
backyard.
Others. Yeah.
You get me?
Yeah.
All these small things, when lockdowns happen, it be there you go see.
Yeah.
Having a bigger space.
A space for yourself
is actually better.
Yeah.
When you live in these high density places like New York, where you're pretty much very crowded, you always want to go out because you don't want to be at home all the time.
Yeah.
So go up on you get me? You be some way. Go to their house the whole day, right?
Yeah.
But then you also have to observe these social distancing rules as
Absolutely.
well. So there has to be some sort of a balance. Right now, everybody's at home unless you're an essential worker. So if you're at home and you need to go outside, you have to make sure that what you're going out is basically essential because everything is closed. Everything is closed.
Wow.
I mean, even here, the place that I do my laundry, the place that I used to do my laundry for the longest time.
Yes.
For some time, it was open, and then also they had to shut down. A couple weeks after the lockdown, even they themselves, they had to shut down. A lot of businesses are shutting down simply because there's no money coming in. Do you know the shop called Neiman Marcus?
No, I haven't heard it.
Neiman Marcus, like, okay, if we get that plenty money, we won't blow our man.
Okay.
If Neiman Marcus, where would it go,
Okay.
right?
All right.
Because that's where they have all the Gucci, Prada, whatever, right?
Yeah.
They're filing for bankruptcy.
Wow.
You know,
Is that bad?
retail has taken a big hit. I'm sure you've seen some of the unemployment numbers in the US.
Yeah.
Crazy
Yeah.
numbers. You know,
Yeah.
and like the 4 hardest hit industries probably would be the hotel industry, the restaurant industry,
Yeah. Aviation.
and then actually 3: hotel, restaurants, and
Aviation.
airline.
Aviation. Yeah.
Because who's flying now? Who's
Yeah.
flying where?
Yeah. Absolutely.
Where they fly to?
You see, but Nana, you see, I mean, the difference between us and you guys out there is the social support system that you guys enjoy. So regardless of how bad it is, I mean, and it really is bad, at least there's a buffer. There's something that people can depend on, and I hear it's for actually tax-paying people. At least there's some that you can depend on. Unlike here, where if you do hand to mouth, regardless of how much tax you pay, it's about you. I mean, the government tried to support people with some food, but it was a bit untidy and it wasn't as effective as it should have been. Isn't it okay?
Yeah.
Isn't it better there in New York?
Is it what? Is it better in New York
Yeah,
in
isn't
terms
it better?
of
Yes, isn't it better in New York?
what the state is doing for people?
Yes, yes,
Is that what you're asking?
yes.
me?
That's exactly what I'm asking. Yes.
Say that again. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, that's
properly.
exactly what I'm asking. That isn't it better than in New York? The support system, the social support system by the government, the state government, isn't it better? I mean, isn't it helping buffer the let's
face it, right? I mean, America and its economy. I mean, when you pair it to Ghana, what you know, in America they can do, we may not be able to do. But I think New Yorkers especially are looking for something like, you know, what to do about their rent. You know, because if you know anything about rent, especially for New York, it's damn high.
Okay.
Rent is a killer. A lot of people have, you know, gotten their stimulus checks, but in terms of how people are going to survive, they just got one check. Now you're talking about how long is this lockdown going to go?
Yeah.
And is that money that you gave me going to be able to survive me until then? Most likely not. You see, so I think everybody's kind of stuck in the situation where you're happy to be alive, and we're all just trying to find the best way out of it.
Okay, so now,
You know,
I find this research very interesting, where it goes to tell us that African Americans and Hispanics are one of the most worst hit, you know, people in America, and I don't know if they fell to that. The black is immune to the coronavirus rumor that was going around. Why is that so? Why are they most affected like that?
you have a lot of diabetes, a lot of heart disease, and a lot of asthma in African American communities. Right?
Yeah.
Now, when you enter COVID into that equation, especially when you're dealing with people who have asthma, I mean, it's terrible because, I mean, from what we know now from the coronavirus, it's, you know, it attacks the lungs.
Yes.
So if you have asthma,
You already have a respiratory.
it's going to be a big problem.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I mean, when we think about African American communities and the level of development that is there, or should we say, the level of development that is not there, you're not going to have the same sort of health infrastructure system that maybe you have in an African American community than you have maybe in another community.
Okay,
You
so
see what I'm saying?
yeah, I find
So,
this. Nana, I find this very interesting because I had
excuse
this.
me?
I find this very interesting because I had this running debate with somebody on a WhatsApp platform where they wanted to equate what's going on now to racism, and one school of thought argue that okay, look, blacks and Hispanics always blame everything on racism. Another school of thought, who's an American, actually she was an American who lived there, said she's experienced it, she's lived it, so she knows where this is coming from. I'm saying this because I want to put it in context. I wrote something on Facebook about how the underprivileged and the people that lived in the suburbs and the people that nobody really cares about have come to bite, because now the decision to do a lockdown and to lift it was primarily, in my opinion, based on them, because these were the guys that were agitating. They didn't have any food to eat. They had to do hand to mouth kind of thing. Is that situation the same? Like, is that the same situation in the States, as in like the African American people that who seem to be underprivileged, who seem to not have the minds or the eyes of the authorities? Are they the determinants of whether the lockdown should go on for as long as it should, or whether it should be lifted? I mean, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, there's always going to be that kind of disparity between neighborhoods and suburbs, right? But
Yes.
I think that the determining factor in reopening really is due to the number of testing, because now we're hearing about a second wave, right? We're hearing that this thing is going to happen again. It's going to come back, and it's going to come back with a vengeance. So now the big question is really about, do you have the testing? Do you have testing available? I know someone who has it but has not been able to get tested. So until people really start getting tested and start feeling comfortable, a lot of things are going to change. We're not going to go back to the same type of normal, especially here in New York City. New York City, the case be different too, because we will be epicenter for here.
Okay.
You get me? So things are really going to take their time before they get back to some sort of a normal, especially here, simply because of the sheer numbers.
You think that you think the downtrodden and underprivileged will now have the ears of the decision makers? That for me is my question. You think
But have the downtrodden ever had the ears of any decision makers?
Have they ever?
In any society, let's be broad here. In any society, have the poor and the downtrodden have they always been the first ones, or has it always been that the wealthy and the elite are always the ones who get the primary, the first access, the best health care, and the like? I think from Ghana to here, it's the same thing.
Absolutely.
The virus itself, is not. It doesn't discriminate whether you're black or whether you're white or whether you're rich or you're poor. But I think in each and every case, whether it's Ghana or whether it's here in New York City, at the end of the day, Charlie, it be the money where you get.
You see, but exactly. So I'm saying that, like you're saying, the new normal.
The money where you get.
You think the new normal will be that after this experience, the decision makers will realize that, Charlie, we better look at, because you see, I still think that the downtrodden and the underprivileged are the determinants of how long a lockdown should go for, because they are the ones that rouse rubble. They are the ones that get upset when the lockdown has to be extended for very good reasons, because they live hand to mouth. They can't be locked up in the room and die of hunger. Do you think that the conversation now will change by the decision makers to say, look, we never know when this is going to happen again? It's high time we start looking more than we were before at the underprivileged and the downtrodden.
When you talk about poor, underprivileged, downtrodden and everything, I think this coronavirus has opened up a conversation about the state in general, no matter which country, but the state in general doing more for human beings all across the world.
Okay.
And I think that's a good thing, that this virus has made us realize that, this is almost kind of like a stress test on the kind of economic structure that we've been following for so long, right?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you're wondering, but this company, how can this company shut down?
Yes.
Or go out of business when they've only been on lockdown after a month or 2?
A few weeks, yes.
Like a big $1 million company.
Yes.
And then all of a sudden, in a month, the company has to literally shut down, fire all its employees. And that's happening in the small companies, and it's happening in the big companies. Well, but my question is, with the big companies, they get the bailouts.
Yes.
Most of the times, most of these large corporations are the ones that will definitely get bailouts.
Yes.
But I think as we go through these things, people are realizing that, Charlie, people need help.
Yeah.
So, are you going to help people, or are we going to see these numbers keep rising? Because the numbers, they're going to keep rising. We haven't seen the last of this.
Yeah.
The thing about this virus is that, doctors are saying that it's not like anything that they've seen before.
Yeah.
So this one is different, right? So the way it's moving and everything, it's going to be a definite, stress test on capitalism as an economic model, and where it can go, and how it can really also help people when it comes to these kind of things. Because we all know that capitalism is, it's all about money, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it'd be money issue.
Yeah.
But that's what that economic model is going to have to face. Because right now, is it really about profit, or is it about the people? Because before, it was all about making profit.
Absolutely.
And it wasn't about investing more into people.
Absolutely.
Because you have certain companies for here that you can't even have a dignified life.
Yeah.
I guess that's everywhere. But even in the US, it happens, and people are like, hey, can this happen? Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
The amount of poverty that's in the US, people kind of don't really think about it a lot. People think, it's very small. But inequality in America is a big deal, and just the inequality between what a black median household would make and a white median household would make is still very, very, very large. There have been progress.
I don't. You live there.
Black household versus white household, and how much the median income is.
Yeah.
The white household is more than double.
Yeah. So people would have thought, we from the outside have thought that with the advent of Obama, the first black American president of the United States of America, that will have been a paradigm shift, a watershed in American politics, because now the African American population will get more attention from the people that needed to give that attention. But it looks like after Obama came, it's been very fleeting. The transient process, he came, he's gone, and it's back to business as usual. African Americans are still suffering, they're underprivileged. What explains this? Why didn't that momentum continue even after Obama?
You're saying that Obama seemed to carry some sort of a revolutionary fervor around him, and a revolutionary spirit around him.
Yes.
And why is it that all of a sudden, when he became the steward of the White House, he sat down, and then all of a sudden he became just like any other regular American president?
Yeah, after he left, you'd have thought that.
I think, in a sense, I think I kind of answered your question, right? America is America, and I don't think necessarily having a black person there is going to necessarily change all of that. America is a superpower, and a superpower is going to do superpower things, right?
Yeah.
So he came in, he tried his hand at healthcare. That could probably be, would be touted as his most lasting legacy, right? Of
Obamacare.
trying to give people who did not have health care to give them health care, right?
Yeah.
Something that we did in Ghana a while ago. I mean, I just see it as, look, Charlie, the American machine is the American machine.
It's like a system,
he had high
right?
hopes, but he himself, when he left, I mean, look at the gray hairs that were on his head.
Yeah.
You know, I think
telling.
he did a lot of things that he didn't want to do. You know, I think that when you are in a position of power, no matter where you are, whether it's Ghana, whether it's Togo, whether it's the USA, you have a lot of ideas. You have a lot of ideas when you know, when you're on the campaign trail, they do guy, they talk anyhow. But as soon as you sit into that seat and they give you that national security briefing, you know, and then you realize that, oh, like joke. You know, things you know, are getting real to the point where now you have to start bombing other nations. And then you start bombing like seven nations. Meanwhile, you are known as, you know, you came in with a message of peace, but still these wars are going on, right?
Yeah.
So it shows you that the American engine, there's something that's not going to change the American engine.
So
right?
you think it's a system?
It's what it is.
You think it's
there's
a system?
some things that are not going to change. It's what it is. The steward might change.
Yeah.
Right? The steward might change.
Yeah.
But, you know, like I said, this is you know, since 1776, we only started in 57. So until we get our 200, 300 years, you know, behind our belt, you know, we're not going to see the kind of advances that they're making. It's going to take us a while. You
think that these presidential aspirants or president-elects walk into a system that they're unaware of hitherto, and so when they get into the system decides what they do. Sometimes it's barely or rarely their choices. The system decides this is how we go, and you're on autopilot. You're like a robot. This is how we do it.
Look,
and you have to do it.
Let me give you an example. My father, in the past, had always been asked to serve as, you know, Minister for Culture because he was an African Studies professor, right?
Yeah.
He was always asked these questions. No, I mean, he was always offered these positions. And I said, Papa, why don't you take this position and be comfortable?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, every student that he's had, he's had a lot of students, and every student that he's had who has gone through politics, he says that he's witnessed their change. And that there's something about politics that even the African studies students who have maybe a very Pan-Africanist vibe, or, you know, they have this idea of making the world a better place, you know, caring for the downtrodden and all of these things. You find that a lot of African studies students have a lot of those values of caring for people, trying to make things better for Africans, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as they get into politics, massa,
they get their wings. They get their wings clipped.
There in that parliament there, or in that politics there. But the minute that people leave, I think a part of you might die.
Yeah.
You know, a little part of you might be sacrificed for the bigger picture to go ahead, you know?